Hey guys, Chester here, or as many of you know me, Pajama Boy Wonder. I'm back with another tutorial on how I made my Titans Robin Armour with a removable R symbol. In the show, with a lot of camera trickery, they make it seem like there is a push and click mechanism where you push in, one comes out, and then another one reloads into its place once it's thrown type of thing, and then push them back into their storage. I've seen a lot of cosplayers use magnets, which works great, but I want to have that kind of show accurate push and click style to it. Now I can't get them to reload in and have more than one come out, but I have been able to get the push and click mechanism working for one birdarang slash logo slash batarang shuriken wingding thing. And I thought I'd show you guys how I did that and where to get everything for it. So first off, to make the Robin Armour, go to my website pajamaboywonder.com, where you can purchase my template for the Titans Robin Armour, both on pajamaboywonder.com and on Etsy, and then follow this video tutorial once you've got it. So first off, print off the templates. They should fit on an A4 piece of paper really well. Scale them down if need be, or up depending on your size. These are the two specific pieces that we had to print on two different pieces of paper, but tape them together because A4 paper, you can get bigger foam effectively, and cut all the pieces out of the paper. Here I'm using a different R symbol. I'm using one from Wonder Custom, which I'll talk about later in the video, but you can use the one that's in the template. Cut it out and follow the kind of lines here. Whenever it's red lines, I just kind of do dots through the paper onto the foam and then kind of sketch where that is after, because these are just going to be indent lines, they're not going to be cut like the others. Here as well we have a red line just around the edge, but because it's so close to the edge I don't want to kind of push through that, so I'm just going to be doing, just by eye, just a little bit off the edge and a little bit of a line there. So now I've got them all penciled out onto the foam. Time to cut out those templates in foam. Now I've got the pieces, I'm heating up the areas where the red lines were effectively, so heat up it bit by bit and then just put your pen in and kind of score that area so it marks down. After that's done, you want to kind of have like a rounded shape to each of the torso pieces. So what I'm doing here is that I'm heating up with the heat gun a little bit and then pushing them over. The best thing I've got that's round is a moon lamp that I've actually got, but if you've got anything round, heat them up, push them over that a little bit so they get a bit round, then gluing the pieces together with some Gorilla Glue contact adhesive. I realised that when doing the rounding, it actually misshapes the pieces a little bit, so that kind of panel that goes in the back there didn't quite fit, so I just had to get a spare piece of foam and put that in the back. So just taping all the pieces together here. See, I put some pins in some areas to like hold things in certain ways. And I always use masking tape to hold whilst the glue dries, because once it is dry, it is such a strong glue, but whilst it's wet and not quite dried yet, it won't fully stick. On the back here I've put on a little bit of a panel as well, just to kind of make it a bit stronger, because this is a specific area that might come undone a little bit. And now gluing on the top pieces on top of that, now that's all dried. Putting off the tape here, there were a couple of areas at the top that need a little bit of trimming from where it was misshapen. Not misshapen, but where we heated it up and trying to change the shape of things. So if some things do need a little bit of trimming, that's fine, that happens. And again, using pins here to hold things in tightly. And masking tape to kind of get like a flush edge to it all. Gluing on the little panels at the bottom of the breastplate. Now for these torso pieces, heat up the edges again and go over those lines where the kind of lines were, and heat up kind of that one armour torso bit. And here you kind of, where those lines were, you want to Dremel it down to make them kind of sharp at the edges, only from where the lines began down to the edges at a point. And they'll look something like this. Now they all kind of layer up on top of each other, so I'm going to glue all three of these pieces together now. Again using Gorilla Glue contact adhesive. Now that's all done, I'm going to heat up mainly on the back, a little bit on the front, and then kind of round them off a little bit so they'll fit more of a stomach kind of shape a bit more instead of being flat. Now I'm going to give them a base coat. Do not give them any primer yet. I'm going to give them a base coat of the Jacquard paints. At first I'm doing the Jacquard pewter over where kind of the silver areas will be, and using a Jacquard crimson red to go over where the red areas are. Just one coat of each of these, and I'll explain why as I go on.
back to the breastplate now. This is the little mechanism that I'll put a link for in the description below that we're going to be using. Again, you can use the cardboard one, or you can use the foam one. The one I've written a template for here, or the one I'm using here, is one from Wonder Customs, which is more accurate size, really accurate, 3D printed and cast in resin. It's a great little thing. You want to sketch around it and kind of do these 2 panels that will fit behind it, and then 1 base panel below it, because this will act as kind of like a pocket. Now get your R logo, and you kind of want to have the point lining up with the kind of indented area, and the top point and the lower point line up exactly with that line that's going diagonal. Again, you can use the other one in the template if that's down to you. I'd recommend using a more solid one if you're going to be putting the mechanism in, and cut out the shape in the breastplate. Now that's done, you want to glue the pin part of the mechanism on with some Loctite 406, it's a really strong super glue. Glue that onto the R symbol, and then use your Gorilla Glue contact adhesive again to glue down the 2 kind of foam panels and the back panel. Check that the mechanism that you're going to glue into a piece of foam now. Be really careful with this, because there's little holes in this mechanism. Super glue gets in there, it won't work. So I'd recommend getting maybe 3 or 4 just in case. Just check that works, and now we're going to glue that inside the kind of pouch pocket area. Putting some pins in to make sure it's down really solidly again as usual. And checking that the mechanism now works, and it does. So now we're going to glue the back pouch kind of into the back of the armour, and make sure we leave the logo there as well, to make sure that when that is pushed in and clicked into the mechanism and held, it holds in the right place and looks right as it should do in the front. Taking that out, that all looks good. Now we're just kind of gluing down some little areas that kind of need it. And again, we're going for a base coat now with the Jacquard Crimson Red. The reason why I go for a base coat is because I know a lot of people use Mod Podge and PVA glue as a base, but when I've seen that happen, if you get one little scratch on it, it will start to peel off. So I'd recommend giving a base coat of the Jacquard paints, just one, and then we'll go for the PVA glue. Here I am just gluing all the little pieces together. Sometimes they need a little bit of a trim, that's just the way it is. I forgot to actually film this bit. I'm using EVA Stick wood glue, which is a type of resin. It makes them really solid and fills in any gaps. As you see here, it's kind of bubbly and foamy. You kind of see the little air pocket holes. No matter how much paint you give it, it's always going to look like that. But I find if you give them 1 coat of the Jacquard paints, then a really thin coat of PVA glue, fills in those little air pockets, and then once that's dry, you give them another coat, and you kind of see the effect here that it has. It just comes out so much better. It just looks so good. Now that's done, we're going same again for the silver. This time, instead of the Jacquard Pewter, which I use as like a base coat for the silver areas, I'm using the Jacquard Lumiere Silver. And again with the Jacquard Crimson Red. Now I've given them a couple of coats there, you can kind of see the brush marks. So I mix them with a little bit of water, and then just kind of going over the top of that, and that will even it out quite a lot. Now going with a really small paintbrush with some black paint, Jacquard Textiles Black, and just going into those areas that you kind of want to see those defined lines. Then I'm getting some silver, just smudging it on my finger and just making it look a bit more battle damaged. And gluing on the buckle pieces here.
And here is your final product. Effectively the same as this one, there are a few changes. This is my own custom design with a few tweaks and things. You have the push and click mechanism here on this, the same as on here. So push, click, come out, thing, and push back in. The same as this one effectively. The logo for this one is actually a gift from a friend. It's a little metal logo, I think comes on a keyring, whereas this one is 3D printed and accurate to the show from Wonder Customs. Use my code PAJAMA10 for 10% off their Etsy, or message them, find out what you want, how much it costs, and then tell them PAJAMA10 for 10% off. They also do a complete resin and urethane version of the Robin Armour, which you can get, but of course the foam version with my template is a much cheaper option. So it just depends on your personal preferences. So here's the armour kind of side by side. On my personal one, I've done a bit more weathering to it, a little bit of black kind of in the seams and things, which of course you can do on this if that's what you choose to do. There's also Velcro on mine, so if you kind of see here, it's got Velcro going down the lines there, which isn't added to this one yet. Here it is. I hope the tutorial's been easy enough to follow. In regards to the rest of my suit, the sub-dye design was by Cyan Man Cosplays, or Cyan Man Designs, so go check him out on Instagram. I'll put a link to the description down below for him as well. Can't remember who it was printed by, it was a couple of years ago, but I got 2 copies printed effectively, one sewn, one not sewn, so that I could effectively add these panels on over the top, and same for on here as well, the gloves. So I still have kind of the base gloves underneath where I did a test of puff paint, fingerless, so when I take them off I can use my phone things easily. And then the other one I effectively cut off this pattern and made the thing on there. These are effectively golf gloves. They're just so easy to wear. They're so comfortable. They go into my fingers really well. The pattern isn't too dissimilar from the show. On the show they use leather. I can't find any leather gloves that fit as good as these. They're a little bit touchscreen, but I still take them off just for ease. And the lines just kind of lined up quite well with what it's like on the show. Bit of puff paint around here and green paint on there. Also the cape has loads of little R symbols and things on it. This is what you get when you get the sub dye printed. It's just this bit, so I've actually added cotton to make this piece. For other sub dye designers, I'd recommend looking at Frontier Costuming. They do some amazing detailed stuff, and you can get 10% off if you use the code Pajama10. Other options to do for the Robin armour. I've seen other people have great success with cosplays such as this, where the armour may not be the best, where it's kind of a thick leather kind of thing, but replace the armour with either foam or urethane or resin versions that are a bit more accurate, and then a little bit of airbrushing over it can make a really big difference. Otherwise, for the most accurate version of the base suit, I check out Replica Industries or Parallel Life Studios. They do some amazing 3D printed fabrics with all of the little R's on. In case you notice, there is loads of little R symbols all over the suit, which I've puff painted myself. But Replica Industries have 3D printed fabrics, so it'll all be completely even and done to a really high quality. If you message them, tell them what it is you want, find out the price of what it is you want, and then tell them Pajama Boy Wonder sent you for 10% off. You get 10% off. I'll put a link in the description below for them as well. I hope the tutorial was simple and easy enough to follow. There's a link in the description down below where to buy the templates, as well as where to buy all the paints, glues and things that I used for this. If you make one of these yourself using my template, drop me a message, tag me. I'd love to see how they all turn out. And thanks for viewing.